God? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you apply that to everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so when there's murder and rape happening, that's just God's power?
Well, see, now here's where...
Well, see, now I'm going to change my story now, because I just said it's everything.
I'm going to change my story.
Okay, let's hear it.
This is where the difference between the carnal mind and the spiritual mind come into play. Because if you believe... Here, just mute up. Let me finish. I was interrupted. It's very difficult to talk.
Well, I mean, I just feel like you're going to go on another word salad rampage, so go ahead.
Well, if you'd like my salad rampage, then mute up, and if you don't, I'll mute up.
Okay. Can I just make the dressing, though?
Okay, I'll mute.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't want to waste time with your word salads, actually. But what would you say to that, Sayla? Do you think the power behind all these things that humans do is attributed to God?
I think that the fact that God has allowed suffering and pain into the world, it makes it, yes, attributed to God, but I do believe that God has allowed for us to make these decisions. And since God has allowed us to make these decisions, then yeah, you could attribute them to God.
Okay, so when you say allow, what does that mean?
Meaning that God has, like, if you're an uncle, you could be the best uncle in the world, or you can be the worst uncle in the world.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
So God has allowed this to be possible for somebody to be the worst uncle or the best uncle in the world, and since he's allowed it, we can attribute God, being responsible for allowing it, but it doesn't mean that that's what God necessarily, that God wanted you to be the worst uncle in the world.
Okay.
Like, God didn't want you to be the worst uncle in the world, but God allowed you to be the worst uncle in the world by giving you the option to be the worst uncle in the world.
Okay, so you don't think God actually has plans?
No, I absolutely believe that God has plans, and that plan is to ultimately reconcile the whole world.
Yeah, you have a choice. You have an absolute choice to create your own decisions to, like Sarah said, be the worst uncle in the world, or you have the choice to not do that. So your choice, whether or not you act of your own volition or that of what would be the right thing to do, is your choice.
Okay, yeah, so God isn't necessarily focused on free will as a priority, right?
That's like saying if a child wants to put their hand on a hot element, the parent has their free will to let them do it or not.
Yeah, so free will isn't really the thing that he's trying to preserve.
But then you're saying, right? Oh, what a horrible parent. They just let their child burn their hand. How dare they do that? That's a horrible God. Well, which you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, that's what I would say to you. I would think that if God is interested in preserving free will, then he would actually intervene, because he does intervene. And he would preserve the free will of victims every time a rapist is around, right?
Then how would you ever learn anything?
Oh, this is the whole soul building argument now? Is that what we're going with?
I mean...
So a person needs to be raped? Is that what you're saying, Rainbow? In order to learn something?
No, the rapist needs to learn not to rape.
Wait,
it has nothing to do with the victim.
On?
If you want to play the victim, then you'll be the victim. If you want to play the rapist, then you'll be the rapist. So it's your choice.
You just sound like a crazy person.
Okay, well, you're entitled.
You literally sound like a crazy person, dude. It's fucking crazy.
That's your opinion.
Yeah. I think you sound like a crazy person.
Choose to be raped?
Well, I think you sound like a crazy person, so I guess we're just...
Have I said something that's wild? Like rape, like you can choose to be a victim, and like God, like you gotta learn to not be a rapist? Like, am I saying shit like that, or are you?
Well, to be fair, honey, like I remember, like it took me like 23 tries before I got that one down.
Yeah. I'm still learning.
Don't say
stuff like that.
Yeah,
what is it
I
in
told
you?
the judge I finally mastered this skill, right?
What is it in you that is deciding to or not to be a rapist? Like, are you a rapist?
No,
not anymore.
Okay, what is it in you that has chosen not to be?
I think it's just the way my brain chemistry is set up. I'm not predisposed to that kind of behavior.
So you think that rapists and not rapists